Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw. Okay, so it's called speaking. And it's okay, so you're standing, I'm assuming that's you, it looks like you. You're standing in a room that is probably air conditioned because you've got a shawl over your shoulder. You're holding
Oh, yeah, okay.
you're you remembered the shawl.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're standing on like what looks like a dance floor. Behind you is a really tiny stage with a drum kit on it. And I guess there was a small band. The band isn't on the stage, but there's a guitar, there's the amps, there's a screen, there's the lights kind of on the background. It's a medium shot of you. So we see your full body length, sort of standing, speaking to, like you're kind of aiming to the people off camera. I guess you're talking to an audience, a member, or to the group. Yeah, it looks like not a huge venue. It looks like a small venue from the little that I can tell because you can't see very much of the dance floor or anything. But so yeah, speaking. What's this?
Yes. So I love speaking in front of people.
Okay.
It's
Nice.
a big part of what I do, which is why I go on so many podcasts.
Okay.
When I was little, I was going to be a famous actor because I love being in front of people. I love sharing my story. I love it all.
Okay.
So that picture is actually from my very first 2017, my very first book launch. And so there was the publisher that I went through. They did like this little event for all of the authors that had published that year.
Oh, great.
And it was also a fundraiser event. I can't even remember what it was for because 2017 is so long ago now.
Like 3,000 years ago.
Right. And so there was dancing, there was like a silent auction, there was a bunch of different things, and so that was my chance. I got to speak, and I just, because I love speaking so much, and I've spoken in front of other groups, but I couldn't find any of the other pictures. So I went with that one, and yeah, I just love speaking in front of people, and that's where I want to take my career direction, is to speaking to groups, either about mental health or writing or anything really. I will talk about anything.
Okay. Well, certainly in my experience of you, you seem to be using your words very nicely. Bravo. I'm enjoying this. So how does because to be a writer is a sort of a lonely pursuit. Like it's a very solo kind of, usually it's not a social pursuit, but you understand that you're producing it for an audience or for a reader, and that is like always kind of aware of the dynamic of reaching an audience, and compare that to theater and drama where the audience is right there, and then compare that with speaking, like public speaking, where you can see, like you're very much, you're talking to the people directly.
Yes. They're all interconnected. They're all different forms of art, really. So I love it all. I even love drawing and singing. I'm just not very good at it. I love all art stuff.
Nice.
And so you're right. When you're writing a book itself, it's very much a singular job. I don't have anybody else around me. I'm usually just in my office at home by myself, or with my cats, usually my cats. And so you do it by yourself, but you're doing it for a purpose. And keeping that purpose in mind is so important while you're doing it, because once the book is written, it doesn't end there. So being an author is so much more than just writing the book, right? Like, we have to come on podcasts like this, and that's where the public speaking comes in, and the going out to different places, doing events and things. That's where you can get that interaction, which is a nice balance, because sometimes I just don't want to people. So it's a nice balance between being able to get out there, do the speaking, doing the podcast or YouTubes, and then also having my alone time.
Yeah.
Just focusing on what I want to focus on.
Right. Well, I've had a few authors on the podcast. I mean, authors are good because, you've spent a long time chewing or going through your thoughts and then articulating it into a book form or something. So most authors want to talk about their book, and first time authors are usually a little bit surprised that they think, oh, I wrote the book, it got published, and for a month the excitement and the energy was there to maintain the momentum, but then after a while it just kind of fizzles, and then they kind of learn the hard way that, well, it's hustle. It's like you have to go out there and you have to talk to people and you have to kind of, it doesn't just run away by itself. Like it needs like that curating, or that it's like a farmer. You have to kind of, you have to constantly tend to your book to have people learn
Yeah.
about it. So this particular book, when did you publish it?
Which one? The
Uh,
one we were talking about before,
yeah,
or
yeah.
the oh, okay, the
Oh,
one we were talking about before.
well, how about all of them?
Yeah,
All of them. Talk about all of
all
them.
of.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, there's a lot of them.
Do it.
Because I like to say I follow my dopamine. So I
Hmm.
have written. I think somebody counted because I said it was over 10. Somebody
Oh,
counted and said I had
nice.
14. Counted. I said I had 14
Uh,
because clearly I can't keep track of it. Um, but I like to say I follow my dopamine. So I have the 3 nonfiction books, published in 2017, 2018, and then last year 2021.
Amazing.
Um, and so 2 of them about mental health, and then the other one is about raising my kid that has autism.
Okay.
And again, it's that wanting people to not feel alone.
Right.
Because the worst thing is feeling alone, because you lose a lot of friends
Hmm.
because you can't just go out with them whenever they want. You can't just find a random babysitter. Like it takes a lot of work and a lot of doctor's appointments. Um, and then I've written a handful of kids books because they're so much fun to write. And I have a grandson, so I could write those and I could read them to him
You have a
too. So
grandson.
I do. He's 2 and he is
You
adorable.
look and sound so young. Like you must have had
I
your
am.
first child when you were 8. What?
No, my husband had his first child when he was
Got it.
16.
Got it.
So it's my
What?
stepdaughter.
Okay, got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Wow.
It's my stepdaughter, but we've been together for 15 years.
I
So
love
I
it.
mean,
I love it. I mean, I love the. So one, okay, a couple of things to that kind of feed into this. One is one of the podcast guests I had a long time ago was, she was kind of, we're talking about the importance of diversity in a commercial context, right? and
okay.
and and she's like, well, we know that the data is out there that the real true diversity in an organization or in a network or whatever in life is the strength. And so I love meeting people where the story, there's a kind of picture of what a normal, well, no, not normal, what a typical person is like. And that picture is, oh, no, mental health is perfectly fine. The family looks like X. The growing up looks like Y. All that stuff. But actually, that's just one little slice of the thousand different configurations. And you're super young, and you have a granddaughter. Amazing.
Grandson.
Grandson,
Yeah.
grandson, amazing.
He's awesome. I love him. He's
Oh,
2.
oh. Okay. So I also really, really, I mean, I just learned a great new phrase, which is you follow your dopamine.
Yes.
Ah, dude, that's amazing. That's great. So talk about that for a
Thanks.
second. Talk about that for a second.
So, because I go on all of these podcasts and I talk about authoring,
Mm-hmm.
being an author, it's always, oh, what do you write? Because most authors do stick to a certain genre.
Yeah.
They write nonfiction, or they write kids books, or they write whatever. Um,
Romance.
Romance, exactly, sci-fi, horror. I don't stick to a genre. Now, I definitely haven't done certain ones,
Mm-hmm.
but I've done the nonfiction. I've done scary stories. I love horror, all things horror. So I've
Mm.
done that. I've done the kids books. I've done social stories. I've done teach your kid how to read stories. So like I follow what makes me happy.
Nice.
And the other question I get a lot is, do you write every day? No, because my dopamine doesn't tell me to write every day. So, no, I don't.
Mm,
And people are surprised that I have 14 books out because when I'm in a great mood, when I'm in like a high, I just go and I can get out a lot of content. And so I use it to my advantage and do that and get out as much as I can. And when I'm having a low, maybe I just brainstorm some ideas, clean my house,
hmm.
play with my animals, hang out with my kid. Like there's other things to life than just work.
Yep.
And so I like to follow what makes me happy. And so I follow my dopamine.
That is okay. So here's how what you say resonates in my noodle. I feel that because you have had to kind of think about and process and deal with your own mental health, and in the same way with myself, for me it was since like 2009, since the financial crisis. So
Oh, yes.
that was the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak.
Yep.
And since then, I've had to kind of develop the understanding, the language, and the concepts, but also the kind of the models and the examples that lets me talk about and think about my own mental health landscape in the same way as you did, right? So you're like, you follow your dopamine. Now, do you feel that in order to become that kind of person and to have that kind of understanding, that you kind of need to go through the the roller coaster of mental health issues?
That's a great question. Nobody's ever asked me that. Um, I'm not going to say that you need to because, I mean, people can do amazing things without going through tumultuous times.
Mm-hmm.
It's my new favorite word,
Okay.
tumultuous. Um, but it definitely helps because when you have gone through really hard times or dark times or painful times, it makes you appreciate the good stuff all the more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, and I mean that what's that movie? What's that movie with all the emotions? The kids movie.
Jackie Brown.
No.
No, I don't know. No, no, I know. I think it's called Inside Out.
Inside Out.
Inside Out. Yeah,
There we go.
awesome.
So that if you look at Inside Out, it shows it perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Without sadness, there is no joy,
Mm-hmm.
right? So as much as you try to avoid the sadness, how do you understand what joy is without it? So I don't think you have to have gone through such extreme
Mm-hmm.
horrible times, but you do have to have gone through
Mm.
something.
Well,
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
Well, to bring it back, actually, you said your husband has diabetes,
yeah.
and so my brother has type 1 diabetes. So he has diabetes since the age of 7 or 8, and like he has a really he's had to build an understanding of blood sugar and glucose levels and management, that kind of stuff, because he's had to live through it. And so if he was on a podcast and he had to come up with a phrase, and if that was his way of expressing himself, I'm sure he would have follow the insulin. I don't know, I mean,
Yeah. Yep, I totally get that.
Okay, well, I'm excited to go to the next photo. So, is life really a gift? Really? Can you make every second count? That's the whole point of the podcast. So, if you like what you've seen and you're inspired, because that really is my mission, then please give it a like, subscribe, and share.
Shooting it raw?
Yes, shooting it